Your employer says you're ready to test. You show up, but they marked it pre-employment. That tiny checkbox matters. If it's not ordered as a RTD or return to duty test, the clearinghouse won't be updated. You'll stay in prohibited status. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. I'm Cindy. I'm a DOT Qualified SAP, and I help drivers every day get through the SAP process and return to duty. So today I'm going to be breaking down about the RTD test, what it really is, what your employer should be doing, and what you can check to make sure it's moving through the process correctly. Now, the RTD test happens after your SAP clears you and after you've met for the follow-up. The SAP will update the clearinghouse. Step 4 will be checked off, and your follow-up paperwork will be sent to your employer. So then that's when your employer will schedule the RTD or return to duty test. It's a DOT test, and it must be directly observed. That means someone of the same gender will go in the bathroom with you. That's a DOT regulation. But the form must say return to duty, not pre-employment. So the DER, which is your designated employer representative at your employer, orders the test, not the lab. The lab just collects it like they're told to do on the form. You know, if the DER picks pre-employment, that's a problem. It will be the wrong test. Here's what the DER's responsibilities are. To check that you're eligible to test, that means they have the SAP's follow-up paperwork, which is a follow-up return to duty eligibility letter, and then page 2 is a follow-up testing plan. They will order a DOT return to duty test, not pre-employment, and they'll make sure it's an observed test. They also will use a DOT certified collection site. And once the negative result comes back, that takes about 3 to 5 business days. It'll come back to the DER. They have 3 business days to enter that result into the clearinghouse, and then you will see a green check, a check mark in step 5. Here's some common mistakes. And here's a true story. Actually, it happened this morning. Got an email from a driver. They sent me the chain of custody form from the return to duty test, right? So I open it, look at it, notice it's marked pre-employment, not RTD. So I called the driver and said, that is not the correct test. You need to go back to your HR Safety Manager, or the DER as they're called, and tell them they ordered the wrong test and you're going to have to retest. Driver wasn't happy. I definitely wasn't happy. So hopefully this is getting worked out. But you just need to make sure if you're going for a return to duty test that your DER has marked RTD instead of pre-employment. Another mistake is that if you do a pre-employment, it's not observed. So an RTD is a different type of test because it has to be an observed screen. So, or the final mistake that really jams up a lot of drivers is when their DER doesn't update their clearinghouse. I can't stress this enough. Please check your clearinghouse. Give it 3 to 5 business days to come back, a couple days for the DER to enter it into the clearinghouse. So like in a week and a half, you can probably check your clearinghouse dashboard and see that step 5 has been checked off. If it hasn't, you have a couple options. You can talk to your DER, directly and say, hey, it hasn't been updated. You could call your SAP, because your SAP is kind of like an advocate for you to help you get through this process. So I've also had to talk to employers before to kind of explain to them their responsibilities. And if you are an employer watching this or a DER and you have questions, feel free to send me a message or drop a comment with a question. I do answer comments here. And also in the description box, there's a link to I created a DOT, DER, or HR toolkit. It explains the entire process from when the driver goes to take the return to duty, all the way through the rest of it, through follow-up testing. It even has a follow-up testing tracker so you can keep the drivers on track, so that they're in compliance and your company's in compliance. So what happens if your employer sent you for the wrong test? It'll be okay. If you are at the lab and you notice that they marked pre-employment, call your employer while you're at the lab. Don't just leave the lab and say it was the wrong test, because if it's marked DOT and pre-employment, they'll count it as a refusal as soon as you walk out of the lab. I know, not fair, but that's just the process. So talk to your employer to make sure they can cancel the test, and then they'll reorder the correct test, the RTD. Also, like you can always call your SAP. Ask them a question and they can explain the process to you, or they could call your employer to kind of clear up what's going on or what's the problem, you know, to get this situated so that you can get the RTD completed, because that's your another step to get closer to getting back on the road. I know it's frustrating when you've done everything right. You've gotten through the SAP part of it. Like, just hang in there. This part will work out too. You know, I know a simple error like this can slow you down. So just stay professional and patient, you know. Contact your SAP if you have questions about it. And if you're a safety manager, check out the toolkit. So if this video has helped you, please give it a like and hit subscribe. I try to make videos weekly explaining the SAP process or troubleshooting some of the things that happen like this, so that people know what to do if perhaps a test is marked the wrong way. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop it down in the comments. And, you know, I'll see you in the next one.